So this is the episode with the orgy in it. We had this idea very early on when we were writing the scripts for a ritualistic orgy that was shot in the basement, and we were really looking forward to shooting that and seeing what came out of it. So, all right, here we go. This was one of the many scenes that we shot in the Airbnb that we rented that was to portray Mike's house. And also one of the many scenes that has basically our ensemble cast in it. As the show developed and became less episodic, it did become more of a show with an ensemble cast, and a lot of our scenes had a lot of cast in it. All of our witches of Azathoth, the cult of Dagon, Yog-Sothoth, all of that. This is something that I would have done differently had I had more experience when we first went through this first season. Having a whole bunch of cast members on set at a given time is very expensive, and it's also very difficult. So when it came around to season 2, being aware of that, we were much more judicious with the characters that we had in any given scene at any given time and trying to keep that to a minimum. But nonetheless, having an ensemble cast like this does give the whole show a lot of charm. When Acantha starts to read from the Encyclopedia Magica here, this is one of the texts that I had written for Journey to the Tree of Sorrows, which we had considered a actual in-universe text in a hardcore and serious Lovecraftian world. And if you look up the Brand of Cthulhu on the Journey to the Tree of Sorrows YouTube channel, you'll be able to hear this passage that is professionally narrated, giving the whole background on this brand that David LaRocca and I developed for that world. It got repurposed and brought over to the Cultists. So I think that's an interesting bridge, that you've got the hardcore serious stuff that I was writing, and that's what Acantha in this more comedic universe is referencing. Rebecca Yeager, who plays Mom, was not actually present when we were shooting this scene in the downstairs living room. That was an insert on another day that she was present on set when you see her at the top of the stairs. And that's an important part of scheduling a show like this. Brianna, our director, was in charge of scheduling, so she did an excellent job with that, like making sure that any insert, like Mom at the top of the stairs, that we needed for another episode was shot when Rebecca was actually on set and could be added in. Scheduling and logistics is a huge part of a production like this. We got to bring Ava back in for this scene right here, which I think is fantastic. And you get this idea that Mike and Sherry have been in communication with each other since their encounter in the woods, which comes up again and again, including season 2. Loved this scene. Mike wanted to know how to play this, like what happens here. And we were like, play it like, okay, I shut this down. This scene with the orgy was originally supposed to be in a basement, but we weren't able to have a basement. But we did have this extra room that was in the house that we rented to be Mike's house. And so this was actually upstairs, and it wasn't quite dark yet when we shot it. So we did close all of the blinds, and then also we put up black plastic behind the blinds to make sure there was no light coming through the windows to reveal that it actually wasn't night yet. We wanted a night look here. When Ben appears with this idol of Cthulhu and the knife, this was a deliberate spoof of something that I had spoken to with David about when there was some kind of Kickstarter that was going on for some type of Cthulhu board game, and it had like a Cthulhu-esque figure with a knife. And one of his other friends was joking with him about how cool that was. And David was like, no, that's not cool, because Cthulhu doesn't have a knife. And so I wrote that down. Hey, Cthulhu doesn't have a knife. Who would make it for him? That's one of those jokes that I wrote down that ended up making it into the script. This scene also has one of the potential few indications that there might be magic in there with the appearance of the two witches of Azathoth. During this orgy scene, I was actually hiding in the closet. I was doing the script supervision and also listening. This was a very tight space for all the different people that we have in it. Again, this is the ensemble cast situation. Lots of actors here in this small bedroom. I'm hiding in the closet. Of course, you've got Brennan in there with the camera shooting. I don't even think that Brianna, who's the director, was able to be in the room while this was shooting. I think she had to go outside during the shoot and was monitoring what was going on a monitor that was hooked up via Bluetooth to Brennan's camera. So there was not much room in this bedroom at all. It was very cramped. I also hope that people appreciate that Rob's fish has been like oiled up. We covered it in lubricant during that scene where he's talking to Acantha. So for whatever reason, yes, Rob's fish is lubed during this orgy scene. This is one of those scenes where we allowed the actors and actresses to really get into character and do some ad-libbing. And unfortunately, a lot of it didn't make it into the show. What we did is we wanted to have a general hubbub to underlay their dialogue, because we've got the main dialogue of the different characters who are talking that you're seeing, but there are a lot of other characters in this room who are talking back and forth. And so we wanted a general hubbub, but that was also like in character. So we let all of the actors talk back and forth. And some of the material that we got was absolute gold, and I love it. I remember having Ben talking to Sherry, Ben talking about how, the God that he worships and all of that, and Sherry, listening very intently, and Ben saying, I worship Father Dagon, and then Sherry, like, pointing at the fish on his head, saying, now, is that Father Dagon? There were so many things that went on in that. I wish we were able to find that footage and release it, because it was so amazing to hear them in character, just doing and saying the kinds of things that they wanted to say. Now, of course, here we have Rebecca Yeager again, portraying Mom. Here with Ava, this was all shot at a different time. Ava, of course, has this fork, which is supposed to mimic Rob's trident, which is fantastic, and I love it. There was also actually a lot of things that went on in the dark in the orgy scene. Brianna and I wrote a lot of different rather explicit things that could go on during the orgy scene in the dark that didn't make it into the actual show. Some of them, if you listen to what the cultists are saying as Mom goes up the stairs, you will be able to hear. But one of them, which I really like, was when Rob said, can I help you with that tentacle? And unfortunately, that line had to be cut from the show, because Rob was supposed to show his fish and wave the fish in front of the camera and say, can I help you with that tentacle? And it just didn't work with the fish being waved in front of the camera. So we had to delete it, and that didn't get shown. That's one thing that actually got shot. There were other things that were written for that scene that were never shot. But hey, there you go. It was the orgy scene. It was a lot of fun to shoot. Everyone had fun. Now it's on camera. And now it's one of my favorite memories ever.